Lead into tonight's second session.
Yes, I'm sure Matthew very pleased to nick that one at the end set, so only 2 frames in it when it might have been 6-2 to Ryan Day. But you've got to say, Ryan Day, Steve, that by far the stronger of the 2 players this morning. Some excellent break building from him.
Yes, but from Ryan Day's perspective, knowing perhaps he did have the best of the session, he will be absolutely destroyed that he didn't win that last frame. The difference between 6-2 and 5-3 seems massive. And actually, from Matthew Stevens' perspective, he knows he was fighting a bit of an uphill battle. He'll be absolutely delighted to get away. It's just small fractions, but they can make all the difference when it gets to the nitty-gritty part at the end. So, a 3-session match, if you come out 5-3 in front, it's a lead, but it's nowhere near as much as it could be.
I think we're probably all agreed that Ryan Day's participation in the quarterfinals is something of a surprise given his recent form, but he's proven why he's more than a worthy player in this last 8 with 5 centuries. Only Neil Robertson's made 5 so far, and he's knocking them in from everywhere.
Yes, well, he's a very, very talented player, and we've been waiting for Ryan Day to come of age, it seems, for quite a while, and perhaps this is the time. And all players mature at different times. Some of the world champions we've seen in the past sort of hit at 21, 22, 23. It doesn't always mean that you're past it if you're older than that. But Ryan Day in full flow is a very powerful, strong player. Sometimes they've questioned his tactical nous, but I mean, somewhere down the line you get it all right, and perhaps this is going to be his world championship.
Indeed, because what's been so significant about his first couple of matches is, as the games have progressed, he seems to have got stronger the longer they've gone on against Ding Junhui and Xiao Yupeng as well. That was a real significant feature, I felt, of those games. Yes,
it was. Perhaps a different match play against a good mate.
Yeah.
Perhaps has its bearing, but could help. You don't know which one it helps and hinders. But he's up against, obviously, a player with vast talent as well. Whilst we look at the Ronnie O'Sullivans, the Judd Trumps, and people like that, these 2 lads are no slouches by any means.
Absolutely, and they'll be back for the second session, along with Maguire and Hendry, this evening at 7 o'clock. But now we are anticipating a fair bit of noise and excitement. Well, what else would you expect with a rocket about to take off into a storm of thunder generated from down under? Oh yes, the countdown is almost complete for O'Sullivan against Robertson.
If you were to tell me how I would have played in my first 2 matches, I definitely would have taken it. I scored really heavily in my opening 2 games.
I'm just pleased to be in the tournament, and form, it's just on the day really. If we all played to the top of our form every day, you'd have the same results every time. But it's not like that. One day you can play out your skin, and the next day not so good, and your opponent can.
In time, you do have to learn a B game. You do have to learn how to play good safety, because you can't always rely on just potting balls from layup shades all the time, which is the only way I used to play. I just used to go for everything. But to beat the top players when they play well, you got to develop a safety game as well. And I think mine is just about as good as anyone's now.
I think he's probably the most improved player over the last 3 or 4 years. Won this world title, and he's worked on his tactical side of his game. He's become an all-round player, great Qist, great temperament. So for me, he is the man that you're going to have to beat to win this title.
I can't really afford to have those kind of off sessions against the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan, especially when it gets down to the quarter-final stages. Hopefully I can play a little bit better and progress through the quarters and make the semi-finals.
There's a long way to go. It's a long tournament. There's still 8 great players left in there. I believe anybody can win it.
So I'm in the com box with the men who are going to put the words over the pictures this afternoon, John Virgo and Dennis Saylor. And John, it's fair to say this quarter-final, well, you've got to say it's the marquee match.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if there's 2 better QS in the game now, at this present day, well, I don't know who they are, because Neil Robertson I have great respect for, and the way Ronnie's just been queuing his last match, and it's England-Australia. What could be better?
Absolutely. And Dennis, what about the record against each other?
Well, Ronnie's won 7 times and Neil's won 3 times. The big match was 5 years ago here. Ronnie beat him 13-10, and that was a close match. But he's beaten Ronnie in the World Open just 18 months ago. He beat him 5-1. So the way they're both playing is very difficult to pick. I just hope they both play at the top of the game, because I can't wait for this one to start.
I think that was impressive for me, John, was the Masters performance in Robertson. I think we saw a different side of his game there. Probably wasn't scoring as well as he could, but his all-round match play was exceptional.
Yeah, and I think he's just a complete player now, and he can raise his game. You know, he did against Judd Trump in that semi-final match to go on and win the Masters, and he'll treat this, with the way Ronnie's playing, as a great challenge. And you know what these Aussies are like. Oh
yeah, they can stick in there, all right. As for Ronnie, I think the biggest thing all week has been focus. He's looked very focused all the way through, Dennis.
Totally relaxed. I've never seen him so relaxed, and I think this game's going to be down to a lot of the long potting and who's going to get in first. Neil Robinson, we know, one of the greatest potters we've ever had, but Ronnie's knocking the long ones in as well. It's just a fascinating tussle.
It certainly is. Look forward to listening to you this afternoon, and Rob, it's all over to you.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We've already had some amazing stories unfolding at this year's Betfred.com World Snooker Championship, and 2 more are about to get started. It's quarter-final time, so let's get the boys on the bays. Please welcome a player whose debut run here at the Crucible is causing quite a stir. He's already knocked out Shaun Murphy and Andrew Higginson. He's beginning to show the class many knew he'd had for a long time. This is without doubt the biggest match of his career so far. The pride of Neath, the Welsh warrior, Jamie Jones. And his opponent. What a turnaround in health and form over the last few months. From talk of retirement to another Crucible quarter-final. His comeback from 12-9 down against Judd Trump yesterday was amazing. This is his 4th appearance in the last 8. He's flying high. He's the captain. He's Alec Carter. And now please welcome a player who has shown touches of absolute brilliance here over the last 10 days. Solid against Ebden, sublime against Williams. His break of 128 on Sunday brought the Crucible crowd to their feet in amazement. 3 times a champion here. Blink and you'll miss him. The Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan! And finally, please welcome a player who's made a huge impact on the game since arriving from Australia. One of the best long potters in the business. He's beaten Ken Doherty and David Gilbert so far, and he'll be relishing the heat of this bigger battle. Champion here in 2010. Can you hear the thunder from down under? Neil Robertson!
So here we go, we'll be dipping in and out of the Carter-Jones match too, and it is live all the way on the red button and online, but right now sit back with the biscuits and a cuppa and just savour what is on offer on table 2.